Welcome to another episode of the Weighing Podcast. I'm joined today with my regular sparring partner, Steve the Rocky Roach. And we have Chris Billam-Smith, the current Commonwealth Cruiserweight Champion. How's it going there, Chris? You okay?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, lads. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Good stuff, man. So we'll go straight into it. I know you've got a big fight coming up there, March the 20th at the Wembley Arena on the undercard of Lawrence Okoli's title fight. That'll be against Dion Juma. Let's start. How's camp for you, mate?
Yeah, camp's really good. Thanks. It's been a quite a long camp in the sense of like I've been in since the beginning of the year. The fight was meant to be February 20th, so I was training a lot over Christmas. Then obviously all the shows got moved back, so it got moved back a month. And I'm pretty sure. Well, I haven't actually said this in any other interviews, but Dion's not now out of the fight. So you interview-wise, you've got a bit of an exclusive.
We're getting an exclusive.
I think a lot of people in the industry know. I think he obviously had pulled out in November with an eye injury, and I'm not sure if he's ready. His eye's better yet, or what's going on there. I'm aware he's out of the fight. So we've been looking at a few European opponents trying to get in. So I thought I'll let you know that now, so we don't go asking too many questions about Dion and how it is preparing for a southpaw or whatever. So it's been a few ups and downs with that situation, but camp as a whole has been really good. Feeling really fit. Did 12 round sparring the other day with 3 different sparring partners. And now, because we're not sure on the opponent, had 2 southpaws and an orthodox sparring partner as well. So, keeping it, mixing it up, and camp's been really good. Thanks.
Well, that's massive news there. So thanks for letting us know. The next question, I'll scrap that. Let me ask you. How does that affect the mindset of a boxer? Because again, you spent weeks preparing for a particular fighter, then be told, a fortnight before the fight that suddenly you're not going to be taking him on.
Yeah, so obviously it happened in November, and we were trying to get an opponent then for November for the Lawrence's card. It was going to be Dillian Whyte originally, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think, in November. I can't even remember now. It was. Then that was 2 weeks before, and we were looking at another opponent, which was disheartening because it was going to be for the British title. It was against someone who I boxed as an amateur, and he got a win over me in the amateur. So I was looking forward to getting some revenge as well.
Yeah.
There's that side of it. So yeah, it's sort of the second time it's happened in a row now. It's happened before, I guess, when with certain fights and stuff like that. But like when you're coming up through, you don't really know your opponent a lot of time in your early fights. So it's only probably my last 3 or 4 fights that I've actually known my opponent. So you get used to it, and the goal's still the same. You just got to train as hard and as smart as you can, and keep improving as a fighter. And it's the same. It'll be the same after this fight. I'll be, pretty much straight back into camp and looking to improve. So I think that mindset just stays the same. But yeah, it's obviously different because Dion is obviously a southpaw. He has a style, so you prepare for that style.
Yeah.
And then that all gets thrown up in the air, and it's sort of just back to not refining it as too much and just looking at a bigger picture of how to prepare for a fight of any sort.
Yes, there's never a dull moment in boxing, Steve, as well, because we spent the last 6 to 8 months talking about certain boxing fights that have been cancelled or rearranged. So we're in this kind of sticky situation there where a lot of fights are changing. You've heard the news now. How do you think Chris could sort of go forward in terms of bouncing back from not having the fighter that he was going to be training for?
I think that's it. I think it's important to. What I'd want to know is how does it affect? Because this is obviously becoming more and more common now with COVID and all sorts of other stuff. If you start a new camp, is it going to be in your mind from the start, or how do you deal with that challenge of it not kind of consuming, not being ready for dropouts? I've heard this before. Fighters like Billy Joe Saunders, he talked about with Chris Eubank. He was like, I didn't know if he was going to turn up. I didn't know and it was hard to get into that mode of, is this going to happen? Is that something that you think might happen to you, or are you just like focused fully on getting the job done when you're in camp?
Yeah, I had an inkling about this fight this time round that it might not go ahead, because I thought it's an eye injury. If it's an eye injury and we heard he had to have surgery, it's obviously quite severe. So in a way, I had an inkling, but you prepare all the same. You can have as many inklings as you want, and the fights, until it's sort of cancelled or the news is confirmed that somebody's out, then you've got to prepare for that person. And then, it's just all about just staying as professional as you can, and just, I guess you've got to expect the unexpected the whole time, and be prepared for as many scenarios as possible, whether that's going into a training camp, going into a fight. I went into a fight as an amateur against a lad who I'd watched box for years, orthodox, and then he came out southpaw. So that was a shock. That was something I had to deal with. And he came out southpaw, boxed the whole fight southpaw. So that really threw me off in the first round. For the first minute and a half, I was thrown off. That was, as an amateur. So you've got to expect the unexpected and be as well-rounded as you can as a boxer, because especially at the stage we're at now, there's people are developing all the time. It's not like the very, very top level. I say that, you look at Tyson Fury, his style completely changed in his last fight. He's gone from outboxing people and just playing with people, using his skills and stuff, to walking through one of the most feared punches in the heavyweight division and in the sport. So he's walked through him, and so game plans can change all the time, and I think you've got to be prepared for as many scenarios as possible.
Yeah, how are you feeling about, like, it's a big card, and Lawrence Okoli fighting for that world title is big. Like, boxing's just come back, and we're all sort of like just consuming the content. So I know that a lot it's going to have big viewing numbers. How are you feeling about it? It must still be exciting to be on the card, no?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously got both my stablemates, Anthony Fowler and Lawrence Okoli, are on the card. So Lawrence is looking great, looking sharp in the gym, and he's just gone from strength to strength. If you look for his career, he's gone and won every title, British, Commonwealth, European, and now he's fighting for a world title in, I think it's his 16th fight, which is, impressive. So, he's looking a great night for the gym. So it's
nicely. So like, you are probably part of the most buzzing stable in the UK. I can't think of another one. McGuigan's gym down here in Croydon. What's the gym like at the minute? And he talked about Lawrence is firing on all cylinders. It must just be, the energy in the place must be pretty insane at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, in the gym the other day, when was it? Thursday, me and Fowler were both sparring, doing 12 rounds each. And then Lawrence was sparring the day before, so he had pads. So there was about 30 people in the gym. And the gym now, we're actually based in Kent now, down at the university down there. And we've just got a squash court with the ring in and a few bags. And there's like 30 people. Obviously, the ring takes up 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the squash court. And then you've got a little bit, and there's like, it felt like there was like 50 people in there. It was crazy, but so the gym's buzzing. Yeah, there's all the people about, all excited, all looking forward to the same date, which is nice, because then we're all
it's working towards the same day,
same sessions and stuff. So it's it's really cool.
Are you sorry, Andy? Are you sparring Lawrence at the minute? Do you spar Lawrence? Have you been sparring for this fight?
No, he's obviously boxing Glowacki, who's a southpaw. So I filled in a few rounds earlier on in camp, but just to get a few rounds in for him, really. And obviously I was preparing for a southpaw, so using Lawrence's sparring partners and stuff like that. But now I've had a few orthodox sparring partners come in and help me. So so Lawrence, obviously, biggest fight of his career to date, so he's just focused on southpaws at the moment.
Yeah, understandable.
That sounds really exciting. I was going to touch on that in terms of that space, that environment where everyone's got that common goal. Must really drive you on to go to the next level.
Yeah, it's been the same since I turned pro and joined McGuigan's gym. It was obviously the first couple of months. Frampton was in there and Conrad Cummings, they left, and then Josh Taylor, George Groves, and obviously there's been a lot of good fighters come and go from the gym, but it's always just expected the very Shane expects the very highest level of commitment and skill and ability from you. So you can't do anything but grow. If you can't grow in that environment, then you can't grow at all. So for me, it's been huge in my development, and I was very fortunate to join the stable when I did at the beginning of my pro career, because I went from training like 2 hours a week in my amateur club, actual boxing wise, and then doing all my S&C and runs and stuff on my own. So then training every day in the gym, pad work every day, and just being surrounded by great fighters. Bournemouth's not exactly known for its boxing. So then you're just surrounded by world champions and world-class fighters in the gym. So and there's just a level set, and you have to reach that level, which is, like I said, you can't do anything but improve.
What commonalities do you think, like, because there's a list of top fighters, coming through, and they're all on Team GB, so they're sort of hyper performers. What commonalities do you see between all of them, and like, what have you picked up from them, be it mentally or just attitudes towards training? Anything that you kind of saw between all of them guys?
You not really. It's just a belief. There's just an inner belief, and similar traits. I see in things I have in my own head. And think about myself that they obviously think about themselves, and it's just very much. I think that's the same with all athletes. I mean, I started a podcast recently called the Perfect Athlete Podcast, and it just delves into all things being an athlete, different athletes, and all the little 1-2%. But a common thing I've found with not just all boxers but all athletes, it's more mentality than anything else. And the talent is, you see so many talented people that don't make it, and I think that just comes because they haven't got it upstairs. So that drive and that, just, I call it stubbornness, to be honest, because you have to have that stubbornness, and because you're going to get setbacks, but you've got to be stubborn enough to not accept them and just keep pushing forward.
That is.
It's that marginal gain, isn't it? It's that marginal gain.
You talk about belief. Like, if you look at your career, you've shown some insane ambition. Like, Juma would have been your third undefeated fighter that you fought. You started taking on guys with winning records like really early, fighting other prospects, fighting for titles. How ambitious are you in your career? Like, you've started like with an absolute bang. You looking to go all the way, or I guess that's
absolutely. I mean, like I said, nothing less is accepted in our gym. Is world titles are the aim. They're the pinnacle sport. That's the only thing that we want to strive for, and I think you don't really get people. Shane doesn't really take people on in the gym that don't have that mindset and have that that end goal of becoming world champion. And for me, that's the pinnacle of the sport, and that's what I want to achieve, and definitely believe I will achieve that, and look forward to enjoying the journey. You've got to take the right steps at the right time. But that's something as well, I'd say, with Shane and the whole team, that they're very good at, is you look at like Josh Taylor, within 16 fights, was it? He was unified world champion, and done unbelievable. Obviously his ability got him there, but the way he was matched with like the Victor Postel fight was the perfect timing for him, going into the WBSS, and it was just everything. When I look at my career, we had to take a risk a little bit with Richard Riakporhe. That fight probably came, 1 or 2 fights too soon. Another slightly, another domestic fight was slightly easier. Domestic fight would have been ideal, but we believed that I would have gone into the fight and still win it. And maybe the lack of experience cost me to not make it more convincing. We still thought we won the fight, but I believe now it would be a lot different story. But you live and learn, and off the back of that, I had to take a risky fight, but it was one we believed in, and it obviously paid off, and I got the Commonwealth title.
But like you say, there's like in boxing, it's about taking those risks. And Richard Riakporhe was, he was getting a lot of buzz at the time. He was Dillian White's fighter, and then that was when I first heard of you, actually. And then when you sort of went into that fight, and you did really well, and it's like, it kind of showed you as the level, you're a prospect in your own right. Richard Riakporhe is going to go on and have a good career, hopefully, and you're in and amongst that, and then you win the Commonwealth. So that kind of put you on the map, and look at you now, sort of thing. So it's a good move in hindsight, I would say.
Yeah. Can I add as well, Chris? I mean, how do you think you've grown as a fighter from that fight?
Well, just the experience of going 10 rounds with someone who's also unbeaten, on a big stage, all that sort of experience you can't buy. And it's not so much the occasion, I feel like I dealt with the occasion well with myself and my mentality around it. But just knowing a bit too quick, I didn't, I was moving my feet a lot, and there's loads of things that I could work on in the fight.
Yeah.
But just the experience of going 10 rounds and that belief, you can do it in the gym, but when it's under the lights, it's slightly different. You don't know where to pace yourself. I kind of, after 6 rounds, I thought I was like, I'm 5-1 up here. At worst, I'm 4-2 up. So I'll have a round off. And round 7. Then he had a big round.
Yeah.
And then that sort of, he had a good round. Then got scored the knockdown in that round as well. It was just those little things here and there. But just having that. That experience, and that's all it is really, that experience. I think I've grown massively from that fight. I've obviously gone into the Glover fight, which was a real 50-50 and sort of career on the line, because it would have been back-to-back losses. And that's never good for anyone in their career. But for me, it was important to get straight back in there with a good fighter, because I didn't want to have a walkover fight where you just to get the rounds in, because you lose that bit between your teeth. And then obviously I had Nathan Foley after that, and he was an unbeaten fighter, and didn't really know too much about him and what he could do. And so you just got that bit between the teeth. Is when I perform. I've had fights in the past where I've sort of taken my eye off the ball a bit, because I kind of knew they couldn't beat me, even on a bad day. And then I had a bad day and made the fight harder than I needed to. So it's just that bit between the teeth, and the better the fighter I fight, I think the better performance you'll get out of me.
You spoke earlier about when you was an amateur, like a fighter coming out of Southport that you knew really well. One of the things that our listeners love to hear about when we interview fighters is their journey into boxing. Sort of, before the Sky Sports cameras got there, the club shows, the sort of spit and sawdust, the funny stories that happen, going up motorways, nicking from service stations, it goes. What was your journey?
From me, mate. No stealing from me. I've paid my way.
He's paid his way, paid his dues.
Yeah, that's it. So tell us a little bit about your journey into boxing, and what it was like coming up as an amateur in Bournemouth, of all places.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Bournemouth wasn't really well known for its boxing. I think we had Ian Weaver, who was from down, and he won the ABAs, but he boxed was in Southampton. He turned pro and had a few issues with brain scan. I think he ended up having to get a license in America and stuff. But he was the only real sort of name on the amateur scene then. But he boxed in Southampton, which is a quote-unquote rival town. Hardly rival. Has got many friends from Southampton. Yeah. But the football teams try and make it a rivalry. And but yeah, it's the like I said, small town. I just got into it. Just went with a mate one day who I met at college. So I didn't start boxing until I was 16. Actually training until I was 16. My first fight was at 17. Oh, wow. So later than a lot of people. But I'd done every sport under the sun before then. I was talking about this the other day with someone. I tried fencing. I did trampolining. I got an A-star in my trampoline in GCSE.
Trampoline in GCSE.
Well, yeah, that was like 4 sports you had to do for PE.
Oh right,
yeah. We had a trampoline in our back garden, and so I was half alright. I wasn't very technical because I never actually did it as went to lessons, but I could do all the moves. Just sometimes my arm was out.
We see Joe Joyce doing a few those kicks after fights. We see you do a few flips in the ring after when you get your win.
No, not unless there's a trampoline there, mate. There's a trampoline, I'm up for it, but I can't do one off the floor.
And what about the fencing? Did you learn any sort of boxing strategy from fencing? When to go, when to...
I guess the footwork, that was a long time ago. I was probably about 10 at the time. But I just dabbled in every sport. I was doing diving at one point, like every Thursday night. There was a local diving board and they used to do lessons down there with my brother. Hockey, football. Football was always my number one sport from when I was, as soon as I could walk. I loved it, played it all the way up till I was about 18. I had a little stint when I was 21 when I had a shoulder injury, but sort of just tried to stay injury free for boxing. So yeah, and like I said, I was boxed for Paul ABC as an amateur, and it was I just loved the feeling of just when I had my first fight and just that winning feeling, and it was all on me. Like I said, I played hockey and football competitively as a kid, and they're team sports, but when it's all on you and you're in control, I hated the fact that I could have the best game of my life playing hockey or football.
And if you still lose,
I'm too much of a control freak for that. So I think if I lost, I could blame myself, and I like that. I like that accountability that you get with boxing, and the more you put in, the more you get out. So for me, that was a lot better because you didn't have to rely on other people. You could just focus on yourself and get the results.
How did you meet up with McGuigan? How did the McGuigan link happen, and when did that begin?
So in 2016, I got a message on Facebook from a guy called Steve Broughton, who was Shane's right-hand man at the time. He's been involved training like Joe Joyce and stuff, bits and pieces. Trains a few fighters now as well. But he messaged me on Facebook. I didn't even know we were friends. You know what it's like, Facebook. You just at that stage, I was just accepting everyone. Like, I'll have as many friends as I can. My mum always told me I can't have too many friends. So he messaged me saying, "Can I come up sparring in London tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah, no worries." Like, I thought I was actually going to be sparring Conrad Cummings at the time because he was in the gym. Because he'd asked me about Conrad before, but he thought I was a southpaw. Then I then he's like, I was like, "Yeah, cool. Send me the address. Let me know what time." He goes, like, 12 o'clock, this address. You'll be doing 6 rounds with George Groves. And at this point, Shane and George wasn't announced. So I was George's first spar under Shane. And I went up there and sparred in when the gym was in Battersea. Did 6 rounds with George, did quite well. And Shane said, "Oh, you'd be quite good work for David Hay as well. And we'll have you back, sort of thing, because you've got
some big names."
Yeah. And so I was, in Bournemouth, I barely sparred, to be honest, as an amateur. I had very, very few sparring partners, and I used to have to travel to Swindon to go and spar Luke Watkins. I'd be working, all day, and then I'd travel up there on a Friday night and get the sparring because I just didn't get it. So it was really hard to. So any sparring opportunity I got, I took, and then it happened to be with George. And then, they kept inviting me back to spar George and David. And then once on New Year's Eve, I was out with my now wife and her friends, and I got a text at 6:30. We were at one of her friends' house, 6:30 in the evening, New Year's Eve. Like, "Can you spar tomorrow? Can you spar George tomorrow at 12?
What do you do?
Luckily, I don't drink, so I was all right. I was like, "Yeah, no worries." Told her, I was like, "Look, we're not having a mad one tonight, or I'm not having a mad one tonight now. I want to be in bed by like 1 o'clock. Get up, drive up to London." And she was like, "Yeah, no worries. Like, I'll come with you." So I was very reliable. Never said no to any opportunities, any sparring opportunities. I used to take days off work to go and spar and get cover for work, which I was fortunate enough to do at the gym I worked at. My manager would always let me because he understood that boxing was everything to me. And so then when I didn't get on Great Britain team in end of 2016, I thought I'm going to go in the ABAs once more, and then which was in April, and then I'm going to turn pro. So I was going to ring Shane. What's the date today? It's probably around this time, actually. It was after the Bellew fight, the Hay Bellew fight. So I was going to ask him on the Monday. I thought once David beats Bellew, I'll ring him on the Monday. He'll be in a good mood.
Making assumptions there.
Well, I was pretty sure about that one at the time.
We all were.
I think we all were.
So I thought it'd be in a good mood as well. So, and I've obviously barred David a little bit for that camp.
Did you ever send that text in the end?
I waited.
It was in drafts.
So I waited till the week after. I think it was the Tuesday after. So it's been like 9-10 days. And I said to Shane, "Can I call him?" Because he had my number for sparring anyway. And he was like, "Yeah, maybe you can come down on a part-time basis." This, that, and the other. Then had a meeting with him, and sparred George that day. Actually, I come and spar George. We'll talk about you going pro, because I said, look, even if you can't train me, can you advise who you'd recommend to go to? I had a quite good relationship with him because I've been there so much and was sort of a regular face in the gym. And I appreciate their advice anyway, and know they know the business very well. So I thought, I'll just get their advice. So they're like, we'll come down spar George, whatever day it was, and but then we'll talk about you going pro. And then I sort of thought, they're just going to say, we can't train you, you can go train here, sort of thing. And I sparred George, and then they took me up into the office, and all the McGriggons were there. It was Barry, Blaine, Jake, who sort of run the promotional company at the time, and Shane as well, obviously, who's the trainer. And that was just, I was just sat there in a bit of a, not really expecting that sort of, it was a proper meeting. And they said, we'd be interested. This would be the situation. And then I just remember smiling the whole way home, and my missus was, like, how'd it go? I was like, it was all right, and just sort of played it down. But then we got her and told her, and it was. I was obviously buzzing. It's been a really good fit. I think me and Shane got on really well, and it's been a really good fit. Throughout my career, Shane's helped me develop as a fighter immensely. So it was just by saying yes on Facebook, basically, and yes to a spar, who I didn't even know who they were sparring at the time, and it turned out to be George Groves. And George is also one of my, was my favourite fighter as well. So it was a bit of a fairy tale story, to be honest.
That is a good one, yeah.
That is amazing. That's amazing. I mean, I guess in a lot of these interviews, he always asks a current fighter if they can name a fighter from the past who they love to fight against. Who would that be for you?
From the part, I don't know. It's in a weird way, as horrible fight it would be. I'd love to fight Evander Holyfield because
the real deal.
He's one of my favorite fighters. And it'd be, he was just so tough. He obviously took his licks off heavyweights and just stood there. But he's one of my favorite fighters to watch. I really appreciated him as a fighter. So
he's fighting again soon. He's going to come back, isn't he?
Yeah.
There you go. Just get your name signed up, Chris. Get you in there.
Forget Mike Tyson, man. You just jump in right in there.
We've got Chris Billam-Smith here. No,
I'll take the money. I'll take the money for that. Absolutely.
100%.
That's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you as well. I mean, you're from Bournemouth. Are you a Bournemouth fan as well?
Massive. Well, I used to have a season ticket when I was like 12, 13 years old, and when we were League 2 and then League 1, and then sort of
bought it in the Premier League.
Then I actually sort of fell out of love with football a bit when I started boxing. Because I used to play it, and just like the respect that boxing taught me and the discipline that it taught me, to then go into a football pitch where there's just a real lack of respect. And it's just a sport. I think it just makes people lose. Like, even when I play it now, like I won't be as respectful as I would in a boxing ring or whatever. You get this, it's just this weird aura that comes around you. I guess it's just the environment.
No, that's true.
But so that I sort of fell out of love a bit and didn't go and watch it as much. Still followed it. Then started getting into it a bit, and then obviously we got promoted to Premier League and had a few good 5 seasons there. And I've met a lot of people at the club, been down and met the players and the manager and stuff when we were in the Prem. So that was good. And obviously I had Junior Stanislas, who's probably our top performer this season. On the podcast and stuff.
I saw that on the podcast. Yeah, you got some good guests on the. You get some good guests on the podcast. It's a good listen.
Cheers, mate. It's been amazing. I've really enjoyed it, and but taking a bit of a back step with this training camp and stuff. But I'll be cracking on with it pretty soon. But the football club have been really good to me as well. They stay in touch, and I've done a pitch walk. I did a pitch walk against Liverpool.
That's cool.
After I won my Commonwealth title, it was our first home game. Which was nice because I'd won my belt in Liverpool, which softened the blow of the loss that day. It's been really good, and I can't wait to get back in the stadium as a football fan. But the dream is also to fight in the stadium one day.
That'd be good. How are they getting on this season, the Cherries? How are they getting on?
Yeah, we should have had
You're in the
3 points
mix.
yesterday.
In the mix.
We're just outside the playoffs at the moment, and we're hoping to make the playoffs. We've had a couple of good results, but yesterday we should have won really against Preston, but we drew 1-1. So
the championship. I don't really follow the championship. Whenever I click championship results, though, you never see the same team win twice. I never see the same team. It's always like the draw, the win, the lose, draw, lose,
crazy
win.
League.
No one ever dominates it.
Yeah, we were like 2nd and 3rd, and then we dropped down to like 6th. We've been 6th or 7th for a while now.
Yeah.
Results yesterday didn't go away, so we dropped out of the playoffs.
Crazy.
But
Chris,
crossed, I got faith.
Chris, I want to ask you, the other week you played Watford, and it all kicked off there. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What'd you make of that?
Are you a Watford fan?
No, not at all. I'm far from Watford fan. I was just kind of intrigued to see your take and where it all kicked off on the pitch. Was there any boxers, any footballers you saw there that you reckon can pack a punch?
I've actually taken. I took. All the lads came down the gym down here to Bendel's gym in Bournemouth. I wasn't there that day, but I've taken a few of the keepers on the pads. But Asmir Begovic, he's got some pretty heavy hands. So, if he got involved, I took him on the pads. Our goalkeeper, so he's got some pretty heavy hands. Junior's a big boxing fan as well, but he, I don't think he wants to get involved in the fighting. But I saw Jack Wiltshire getting amongst it, and he
was up for it, wasn't he?
Oh, it's great. I'm an Arsenal fan. He was scrapping when he was with us as well. He's always scrapping.
He loves it.
He loves it. Yeah.
That's my point though. It's all very handbagsy, isn't it, in football? And that's the sometimes they lose their head because of that lack of discipline and respect or whatever it is in there. People get very hot-headed in the sport, but yeah, it definitely kicked off the other week.
That's good stuff. Now, Chris, I was on YouTube the other day watching some music videos, and I got to say I was quite disappointed not to see you there in Dubai with Lawrence Okoli. What happened, man? I thought you'd be in there.
Nah, he's got his boys there, all the penny boys and all that. But yeah, look, he's doing everything. He's doing everything. He's nothing he can't seem to do. He's rapping. He's got a book out. He's about to win a world title. So fair play to him. He's life's good for Lawrence. You know, he's training as hard in the gym. Some people might see him as distractions with a book and the music and stuff like that. But he's just as fit and just as strong, just as powerful, just as good at boxing, and his head's still on it. Hopefully, it stays the same after he wins a world title and he doesn't just lose his head completely, which hopefully the ego doesn't get even bigger than it is. But he's a good lad, and he's doing superb, and life's good to him.
I want to see you, Shane, and all the boys in the next video.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's as much as I like my grime music. I like my Kano, and obviously Kano's my entrance tune. I don't think us lot would do very well in a grime. If we start getting involved, maybe in a video somehow, some way, but as long as we don't have to rap or anything like that. We have very different music choices in the gym. Shane prefers his sort of 80s sort of funk and soul, and I'm a mixture of everything, to be honest. Like I said, depends what mood I'm in. But,
who gets to choose the music in the gym? If everyone's there, who's putting the music on?
Whoever's on the pads, whoever's training. So if I'm on the pads, I can use it. To be honest, most of the time I don't really care. I just let people get on with it and just go on the pads. Now and again, I'll ask for some Oasis or whatever it is.
I actually saw in Roy Keane's biography, he said that he knew he'd lost the Sunderland dressing room when they were playing Dancing Queen by ABBA before a game. And he said he had no characters in there at that
point. He's savage. Roy Keane is savage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and then Fowler puts on some random dance mix.
Scouse House, they call it. Scouse House.
Yeah.
He's a character, isn't he? He's a character.
Oh, he's a funny lad, Fowler. He's a funny lad. Great addition to the gym. There's plenty of characters in the gym, that's for sure.
That's it. Yeah. Right. Go on, Andy.
Yeah, this last question. I just want to ask you. I know you've recently sort of joined forces or got involved with the PBA. Do you want to discuss that and how important it is to have some support there for boxers, not only financially but also in terms of like well-being and mental health?
Yeah, I think it's obviously spoke to the guys a couple of weeks ago and they wanted me to get involved, and it was a real honour for me, to be honest, because it is something that I haven't really thought about. I've always known there needs to be something. Obviously, Barry McGuigan tried it. I think in the 90s, tried setting something up, and that didn't work for whatever reason. But it's the mental health side of things in boxing, in a lonely sport with all that, the pressure that surrounds boxing and stuff. Like, people say, you look at other sports like tennis, when they lose, they're not just thrown under the bus. Albeit that obviously, like I said, they have 20 to 70, 80, 90 games per year, whereas a boxer, you'd be lucky to have that many in your career. It's a short career, so one loss can mean more. I think there's too much stigma about that, but also just the day-to-day pressures of the constant battles and whatever it may be. And also it is a working class sport, so the education from, people in the sport are usually less educated than other sports. You look at like cricket and tennis, the sort, you look at the demographics that go into them, and I'm sure there's plenty of surveys that have been done about it, but so people seem to be less educated in boxing, so the financial planning and that sort of thing there needs to be addressed as well. So I think it's a really important thing, and I'm honoured to be involved.
Right, cheers,
100%
Chris.
there.
Okay.
Much appreciated there, Chris, man. Thanks for your time there. We're so sorry that your fight against Dion Jummer isn't going ahead, but obviously we'll look forward to seeing you in the ring, and nevertheless.
Good luck for your good fight now, man. Yeah, cheers for that, Chris, man.
Cheers. Take care, lads.